Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, you guys will have to let me know if you can hear me and all of that good stuff because I changed microphones. So I need to know because I'm not sure if this one will be as the other one. Hopefully it's better. This is the one I normally use to record the not on camera portions. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yay. I'm glad. I was listening back to the other one and it sounded a bit echoey for my taste. And I realized that the default mic was the webcam mic, and nobody wants that. Hi to all of you. Thanks for joining me tonight. Like I said last time we did this last week, we're going to get a bit more specific this time. So I'm excited for that. All right. So I'm going to put the question in the chat and then we're going to talk about it. So I know, right? Carry on. So here we go in the chat. Yeah, that's my keyboard. It's not stable. Okay, so I guess the first question before we get into it is how many of you guys who are here now have read Carry On or Harry Potter? Let me know, because it's no guarantee that everybody's read both, and it's not even a guarantee that people have read Harry Potter. There's this assumption that everybody has read it, but really, it depends when you came to it and whether you're into that kind of genre or stuff. So I want to know. Oh, thank you. Okay, so Carry On is a novel written by Rainbow Rowell, which in some ways is a reworking of Harry Potter, but it basically follows Simon Snow, who's this magician going to the Watford School of Wizardry or Magic, and he's fighting his own kind of Voldemort, who's the insidious humdrum, and he's going through all of his own teenage stuff. And it's similar but different is the best way to describe it, I think. Okay, that's interesting. I've read Carry On, but not Harry Potter. Oh, wow, Rachel, you finished it fast. That's quick reading there. Oh, wow, I've never read either, and I'm planning on starting HP soon. Okay, that's cool. Nice. So we have a variety of different levels of who's read what here. So that's very cool. So then I guess I will ask another question. How do you guys feel about books about fandom in general? Oh, you want a link to Carry On? Oh, I don't want to give you any spoilers, though. I can't think of a link that wouldn't give you epic spoilers. But so how do you guys feel about fandom novels? I actually asked this question over on Twitter when I asked for Rex, and people thought that I was talking about getting Rex for kind of meta material, and those were awesome too. But what I really meant was fictional books about fandom, because I find them fascinating. So what do you guys think of them? Because it's kind of a burgeoning genre. Like there's always been a book here or there, but recently, within the last 5 years or so, it's kind of becoming its own subgenre in YA. And it's really fascinating. I'm tracking it. In fact, in May of this coming year, there's going to be Ship It, which is going to be a book specifically following the shipping phenomenon when an actor says the wrong thing at a con and then has to go on this massive PR tour with a fangirl to try and correct his image. So that's definitely going to be an interesting read. Blueberry Muffin says, I think a lot of them are sort of misrepresenting the culture, but if they were more popular, I think they'd have potential. It depends where they come from, because there is a lot of that kind of outsider aspect, people analyzing it from the outside. So it's never quite right. And that's part of why I like it. Ship It is going to be interesting because it's written by someone who has worked on television shows. So I'm curious if it's going to represent more of that side of it or more of the fandom side. It's going to be interesting to see. Oh, Catherine, I know what you mean. Catherine says, I like the idea, but I hate when it's portrayed like it wasn't supernatural. Are you talking about Becky? Like Becky's portrayal of the fangirl? Like, I was planning on doing a video about comparing Becky to Charlie when it came to Supernatural, but I'm still going to wait because people get very, very defensive when you say anything negative about Charlie. And the thing is, it's not even saying anything negative about Charlie. It's comparing the different tones taken when portraying fangirls just based upon when they were created, because it's very different and it very much reflects where the show was in terms of dealing with its own fandom culture. Let's see. Ship It is an upcoming book that's coming out. Yeah, Fandom slash, I agree. Like it's hard to find something that's going to represent exactly what you've been through. But I think if it becomes a bigger genre, then we might see more fans or people who have dabbled in fan culture writing books about fandom. And that would be very interesting. Like the other burgeoning genre is people writing books about web culture and online culture. And that's great because we really need to get past that whole mindset of what is YouTube and the internet? How do you make money on the internet? I mean, the Mark Zuckerberg thing, people were asking that question. I couldn't believe it. Like, how do you make money if the users must not pay for the service? And I was like, really? It's the how do you make money on YouTube question all over again. Come on now. You know what? Yeah, I will do Becky and Charlie. Becky had potential. I don't think the problem is with Becky. I think the problem is with the tone surrounding Becky. Because there's this firstly, it's overly comedic for things that aren't comedic. Like when she drugs Sam, that's not funny. But also there's this mean-spirited tone in the humor surrounding her that isn't there with Charlie. And they almost bend over backwards to give Charlie this really positive character, which is why in some corners of fandom she's called Charlie Sue, meaning that she has Mary Sue-ish characteristics. And I remember when I said controversial in that video, some people got really upset, like, how could you not like Charlie? It's like, it's not that I don't like Charlie, she just happens to have some Wesley-ish characteristics, because Wesley is the ultimate Mary Sue. Hi, I'm doing good, Jessica. How are you doing? Ship It author. Hold on. I can do that for you. I have the technology. Ship it. There we go. It's Britta London. I'll write it in the chat for you. There you go. That's the author. Yeah, it really depends. Supernatural is a fascinating one to look at. Actually, one of the meta fandom texts that I received was about Supernatural and has some passages written by the cast and crew. So I'm actually very excited for that. That's going to be very interesting to dive into. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here for Supernatural. We're here for Harry Potter / Carry On. We're going to try and stay on topic. It's not going to happen, but we're going to put in a good college try. Well, yeah, no, I know I'm getting sidetracked back to, but Catherine, you make a good point that it was because Wincest was the main pairing at the time, and they were still learning to navigate fan culture a lot, and they hadn't really figured out what it was about or why it was fully happening. And so that accounts for a lot of the tone, but they are actually trying to be a bit positive. I mean, they wrote their own fan fiction for that, so that's kind of a thing, I guess, if you want to look at that as a positive, maybe. I don't know. I just try and find as many positives for poor maligned Becky as possible. Okay. So, question for all the peeps here. How did we feel about Harry Potter? Questions. And for the people who haven't read it or seen it, why or why not? What's keeping you away from it? Or, you know, what has kept you from getting into it? I want to know. I have questions. Questions that need answers. Let me know. Let's see. Yeah, kitty cat for me too. When I was growing up, I got the first Harry Potter book when I was 11. And so I was exactly the same age as Harry. So there was that instant connection of, oh my God, he's 11. I'm 11. He's a wizard. I wish I was a wizard. And, you know, all of that childish stuff. And so there's always that nostalgia there for it, for that moment that you get very few moments with media like that, I find, where it just latches onto you at that perfect time. So even people I found who came to it a few years before or after didn't have the same attachment. It was really interesting. Yeah, that's the thing with Harry Potter, and that's why I find Carry On so fascinating. From what Fandom Slash is saying, like I loved Harry Potter, but fanfic made me want something different, and then Harry got whiny, which he did. I know it was supposed to be realistic, but oh my goodness, did he ever get very, very whiny? That's the thing with Harry Potter. It had so much fan fiction that you were allowed so many different interpretations and inputs into the world as it was happening and as it was developing. And I swear the fan fiction at some point were getting more and more into it. And so that's why Carry On is so fascinating, because Carry On addresses so many of the new conversations that we're having around Harry Potter that we didn't have at the time. I know. I feel so bad every time I bring up the cursed child. It's nothing but a bash fest. There are some good things there, but if Carry On is fanficky in the best way, Cursed Child is fanficky in the worst way. Yeah, Heather, that's a possibility. I mean, you'll never know unless you try. You might like some of the canon versions better, but they definitely are different in fanon. There are some extreme differences, especially with characters like Draco and Ron. They are not the same at all. And some of the tropes that have evolved surrounding the characters. Oh, also Ginny. Ginny's not the same either. That's a good point. Carry On, Baz, Snow Baz, as it's known, they're not dreary, but they're close enough that I can see why some people latch onto them as a canon version of dreary. Scorpius was the only good part of the Cursed Child. I don't know how out of character they were at times was sometimes for me the best part of the Cursed Child. Oh my god, I wish the Harry Potter musical was canon. That would be great. I don't know who Harry is, or at least Harry hasn't worked through his issues at all in the Cursed Child. Slytherins are still awful because you never grow out of your schoolboy prejudices. Why would you have to? You know how people are going to be from childhood. And again, that's one of the things that's addressed in Carry On, where they do away with the sorting into specific houses, and instead they pair you with a roommate who you live with. And one of the things is that Simon is paired with Baz as a roommate. And he's like, I have to share a room with my enemy, which is already the fanfickiest, tropiest thing in the universe. And they have to learn to get along, and the room is spelled so that they can't hurt each other. And I just realized I still have this lipstick swatch on my wrist and forgot to wash it off. That's fantastic. Okay. So, of all the people here who have read the Cursed, why did I say the Cursed Child, who have read Carry On, how do you feel that it stacks up when compared with Harry Potter? Yeah, no, housist should be a word, definitely. Oh, Blueberry, why do you like it felt more natural? Well, yeah, because definitely Snowbaz feels more natural than Jerry because it's actually a built-up relationship that's supposed to be happening. Whereas Jerry, you have to dive into all of that subtext, and also all of their horrible interactions in book 6. From when Harry spoilers, I'm sorry, spoilers. From when noses were broken, literally broken, I had to get out. I had to get out at that point, and it had to be a completely fanon version because text was just running away from me with Jerry at that point. Yeah. The only time I liked sorting was when I did it on Pottermore, Rachel, and I got the house that I wanted. I was just like, yay, Slytherin. Now to go buy all the green things because yeah, I heard Rainbow Rowell was toying with maybe potentially doing a sequel. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but it would be intriguing to see those characters again. They essentially are evolutions of fanfic characters, though, in my opinion. Like, she does rework them and they do become different, but their base is quite evident as to where they started. But that's necessarily a bad thing because they're taken and reworked, and so they do stand on their own and present different enough characteristics that you get a unique experience when you read Carry On. And by the end of it, like a lot of people said in the comments of that video, they don't feel it doesn't feel like Harry Potter anymore. The similarities are always there, but it feels like you've gone through something significantly different. Yeah, Slytherin. Oh, are we lagging? I don't even know. Yeah, Hufflepuff. Yeah, I know. I was always one of the things that always drew me to dark Harry fanfic, Kimmy, was the fact that the hat wanted to put him into Slytherin. And it was all like, oh, you could be great there. And he was like, but I don't want to. So it's, oh, well, he could go be mediocre somewhere else. What kind of hat is this? I don't know. Yes, I'm a cutie. I don't know if the stories are that different. It's more like an intriguing mismatch of all of the books kind of compiled into one with a very healthy dose of Philosopher's Stone, Half Blood Prince. The uniquest part is definitely the maids sections and Simon's origin. Those parts are well done and pretty cool. Yeah, no, I agree that Snowbaz feels like what Drary could have been. It's quite understandable why there was an upswing in people looking for Drary fan fiction after that book came out. And it will always continue, I think, because people go and they look for Snowbaz and there's not as much. And so then they drift over in between fandoms. Oh yeah, Rachel, those are some of my favorite fanfics for sure, where it's just the entire book series, but Harry's a Slytherin. I really miss those fics. You don't get as many of them anymore. Now the book series is entirely concluded. Lots of the works are now post epilogue, and I really miss those in between transient fics where it was people just pondering what was going to happen, and you had all of these really interesting, unique possibilities, a lot of which I'm flat out going to say I think were better than what we actually got. And I think that for the people who do compare Carry On to Harry Potter is part of the appeal. It's a world that was more explored in fan fiction, and also the more open ending and not that closed off epilogue that so many people don't like because it wraps things up too neatly and too nice of a bow for a lot of people. Let's see. Really? That's interesting, Lexi. So I want to know how many other people have gotten into Harry Potter or anything from the fandom first? Because I saw that there were people who were into just Harry Potter fiction or Carry On fiction, but they hadn't actually gone to the source material. So I'm very curious. No, of course not, Catherine. Everybody was fine. As soon as it ended, all of the repercussions were gone. Nobody has to deal with anything. It's fine. Oh, that's interesting. So Heather, you got into Hermione first. So then what was it like? What was it like when you came into contact with more canon material coming from that background? Yeah, that happens with Clance a lot. I know a lot of people who have gotten into Voltron because they've seen Clance fan art. So I have to ask Megan, when from getting into it from the Clance art, did the actual canon live up to your Clance expectations? I have to know. Oh, that's really interesting. I got into Supernatural from Harry Potter crossover fics. I also need to know, did it live up to your expectations? Was Supernatural all of the things? Jessica, I do have a favorite anime. It's Onisama E, Brother Dear Brother. It's I'm gonna sound like such like an anime snob. It's super obscure, but no, it's kind of hard to find. Hopefully it gets easier, but it's old and not very popular, so it's a bit difficult to track down. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any show that I got into where I read the fan fiction first. Maybe a couple of Marvel movies if I was late, like I didn't make it to the midnight showing, and so I started reading fanfic before I went the next day, but I usually try and get into source material first just to have a base. Well, at least if you get into Supernatural because of Destiel, you're definitely going to have a lot of on-screen stuff to work with and still do. I don't know if you want to see Teen Wolf. From what I've heard from Sticky Keys, it's still pretty intense in the fandom, and the show really It really dips after after season 3A. It dips pretty hard. Oh, I hope I didn't spoil too much Hannibal in my Hanagram video. I try to be more mindful of that now to try and be like spoilers. Even if the show is 25 years old or something, I know that not everybody is caught up. Have you, yeah, yeah, I can imagine, Cecilia. Have you ever written fan fiction? Asks Mia or Maya. Yes, yes, I have. It's probably still up somewhere, but I never finished it. I'm one of those people. I'm part of the problem. I'm a person who has a couple of chapter fic out there that's just abandoned and never being finished. It was a Star Trek fic. It was a vampire space odyssey, and it was as high school and amazing as it sounds. Yes. Oh, I still need to make a Smallville vid. Ugh. There's so many Smallville vids that needs to happen, especially now that they're doing all the new series and stuff. I just kind of want to go back to the early days where you could make an angsty teen playlist because you were watching Smallville and they were playing Lifehouse and REM and all of that other stuff. My embarrassing fan vids. My fan vid channel is still up. It's under my old name. And I like looking back at them. I'm fond of them. They are just not made in a style that I would edit them currently, but I still have much fondness for the embarrassing fan vids. An anime con actually used one of the songs that I used for one of my fan vids to introduce the character at their con. So that was kind of cool. And I did, my favorite band actually put one of my fan vids on their page maybe 8 years ago or so. And that was one of the proudest moments. I used to have way more on the page, but because copyright claims were so intense back in the day, when I was posting, they would just take videos off. So a bunch of them have been lost, and I actually can't find them. I'm bummed because I had hundreds of videos. There's a part of me that still wants to make fan vids. I know that that's really out of vogue on YouTube now because of all the copyright stuff, and just they make it really difficult. But for me, it was just a really relaxing, enjoyable pastime. And I have a Captain Charmed video in my head, just sitting there, that if I ever have time, I could just sit there and make it. I have the song, I have the scenes, everything's just laid out in a little storyboard schematic in my head, waiting to happen. What videos? I know I love Lex's. I just love Lex. That sounds terrible. Sierra asks, what videos are you really wanting to do but just haven't had a chance yet? So many. So many. So there's a bunch of stuff that is coming 100% this year, and I keep saying it, but it is true. You can see that it's true because I finally did Carry On after over a year of promising it. So the stuff that is 100% coming up this year, soon, and for me, soon means a couple months, we have Supercorp, Nigmabelpot, Mpreg video, Klex, Xena Gabriel, a retrospective, Captain Swan, a retrospective. There is so much stuff that I'm working on. Oh, Spones, Destiel, Most Shippable Moments 8 and onward. The aforementioned comparison of the Ponfar eps in Star Trek, the Kirk Spock Most Shippable Moments. I have a lot of stuff that I have coming through the pipeline. I was actually scripting something today. I'm always scripting. I'm always squeezing in stuff when I have time. You know, the daughter goes down for a nap and I'm scripting. I'm editing conversations. I'm doing something. I've got fandom stuff on in the background. It's my life and I love it. I love it. What are my favorite ships and fandoms right now? Well, I'm reading a bunch of Harry Potter fan fiction right now because I did the Carry On video, and that always makes me think about Harry Potter. And so now I'm chilling in the Harry Potter fan fiction, going through that again. There's been some Tony Stark stuff, Tony Stark fiction I'm always all about, so I'll go into that. And I just recently rewatched BoJack Horseman just because I felt like it. As for current shows, I don't know. I really cycle through what I like and what I'm really into, so it's constantly changing. I mean, if you ask me that 3 days from now, it will probably be completely different. Claria, will you post these live streams on your channel? I think I'll leave them unlisted just because of how YouTube is with algorithm. I can't talk tonight. Ugh. With algorithms and all of these stuff that they've changed. Sometimes if you post things that are very long, it can actually derank you. So I'll probably leave them unlisted. So I'll put the links on my social media, Instagram, Twitter. So if anybody misses it, they can always find them there and they'll always be up. But I probably won't put them live. That makes any sense. I'm also going to try to add a couple more times sometimes because I know I have lots of UK viewers and Australian viewers, and I want to try to make the times as fair as possible. So every now and again, I'll try and do a day stream on the weekend or something when I have the time. Yes, Bastion, I definitely would. And I plan to. I do want to do more video game related fandoms for sure. Do you prefer Stucky or Stony? Oh, Elron, asking the hard questions. The hard questions. To be honest, just for the honesty of us 53 people in this intimate stream, Stony. I'm more of a comic shipper usually in general. So Stony, I get the appeal of Stucky and I see it, and especially for the MCU verse. But there's a part of me that enjoys how much you have to manipulate and twist to make Stony work in the MCU because they don't show any friendships. You have to write all of the scenes yourself and a giant missing scene marathon. Also, the kink memes have been very fascinating where they just people requesting amongst all the smut, just friendship scenes like Tony and Steve get to know each other better. And I'm like, yes, please, because the movies did not do that at all. But if we're talking about what's feasible in each universe for the MCU, Stucky makes way more sense than Stony. But for how I got into the ship, Stony, because of all the Civil War fix-its that had to happen after the cataclysm that was that Civil War comic that is not as good as people think it is and did not deserve a comic sequel at all. No, I'm not purposely avoiding Homestuck. Oh, see, last stream I was still calling it Homestruck because it's a problem I have where I can't say Homestuck. No, I'm not avoiding it. It's just at the time I wasn't making videos that are as long as I make now. So now would be more of a time to get into it for sure. It's not one of the promised videos though, so it's not on the highest on my list, and it's never. Have I put it on a Patreon vote? I don't think I have. I might put it on a Patreon vote and see if people vote for it. This month's winner was Grindelwald and Dumbledore. So that's going to be the Patreon video for this month. I'm really excited to do that. That's going to be a lot of fun. The Stucky art is really nice. The fan art is one of my favorite parts of any fandom. Some of it's just absolutely gorgeous. Would I be against Stucky? I'm not against any ship. I don't pick camps or sides. I feel that most ships have merit and would be interesting. I mean, if they made Steve and Sharon actually have any kind of chemistry or work that out, I would have been fine with that too. It's just whatever they can do that's feasible, I'm into. I mean, I liked Tony and Pepper canonically at the start, and then they just kept messing with it. And then he's like, oh, I proposed to her because I guess we're still together. Our relationship is a frivolous afterthought. And it was just like, I'll have to go to the fan fiction to fix this too. But then I shipped Tony with the world, myself, Peter's aunt, just everybody. What's my Twitter handle? Hold on. There you go. No, that's not it. Silly autocorrect. There. Oh, the super family. I need to do a super family update because there's so much more potential for it now because it's kind of sort of happening, which is amazing, but with a reversed role of what people thought it would be with child endangering yet also overprotective Tony. So that's kind of amazing. Yeah, I do want to make a doctor and master video. The thing is for me and why I'm holding off on it is because it's not just going to be sim master and tenant doctor. It's going to be so much more. You know, there's a whole bunch of shipping for 5 and his master too. So I kind of want to cover all of the master doctor ships. But the thing about that is that that's going to be crazy. And that would probably have to be a multi-part video from classic Who, modern boom Who of Sim Master, Tenant Doctor, and then follow up of what we're doing after that. Will I do any more self-indulgent videos about ships that only I ship? Maybe. And here's an idea that I've been toying with. I kind of want to, is it self-indulgent to want to do a fan art contest for those? Like, also do a fan art contest? Like, there'd be prizes. It wouldn't just be like, give me fan art. There would be prizes. And I'd do the same thing like I did for the Plants fan art contest, where we also showcased just a bunch of my faves on top of it, because some things I want more fan art for, and it's not there, but I feel like that would be really self-indulgent. I know, Elron, I can't draw either. I think that's part of why I'm so attracted to fan art, because I wish I could. I just look at it and I'm like, man, I wish I could draw. It's like when you hear somebody play an instrument really well and you're like, man, I wish I could do that, but I don't want to put in any of the practice, effort, or time involved at all. My dad gave me a book, Drawing on the Left Side of the Brain, and you have to teach yourself to draw realistically. And I'm like, do I care that much? I just want to be naturally talented. Is that too much to ask for? I know it is, but still. Do it, do it. It's not bad to be self-indulgent. You see, once in a while. The key word there is once in a while. Are you planning on doing K-pop vids? Yes, I am. Okay, so what I'm working on right now is a semi-lemmy kind of skirting the surface of Fandom video, which I think would be a good way to maybe dive into the definition of Fandom, which would be fun. And then from having that framework of Fandom and what it is, would be a good launching pad for talking about other kinds of Fandom, specifically K-pop, J-pop, all kinds of stuff. Just like how it's an RPF vid, so just like how we used Septiplier as a foundation for defining what RPF is, and then we're going to build on that. I like to think of my videos as things that you build upon. They can stand separately, but they also inform each other. So the more of them that you see, the more of a foundation you have of the overall framework of all the stuff we're talking about, kind of just like Fandom itself. I just got really excited about something really nerdy, but that's okay. Yeah, Shuri and Peter. That's a cute one, and how it emerged was cute. It's always fun when just somebody says one comment and it just explodes into a ship. Definitely, I feel better about that than Shuri and Bucky, and I'm sure a lot of the Stucky shippers feel better about Shuri and Peter too. Yeah, I liked Shuri a lot, but I didn't like the outdated memes. Like I said on Twitter, I always cringe a bit when there's any modern memes. And those weren't even modern because memes are old a minute after they happen. So a meme that's a couple of years old is ancient. You might as well be referencing something from the 60s. I was just, oh, what are those? What are those isn't even funny in the first place. I know I'm showing my age right now, but what are those isn't funny. It's not. He's like 80 years. No, Demi, you gotta do the vampire reasoning. We gotta apply vampire rules to that. Elderly people need love too. Well, that's the thing too. If you're not into meme culture or keeping up with it, some of it will just go over your head. Like, thank goodness I'm up on it, because my neighbor from upstairs was visiting me and he's 13 and he asked me, do you know the way? And thankfully I knew what he was talking about. If I wasn't up on this stuff, I'd be like, what? The way to where? I don't understand. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Oh, vampire rules. Like vampire rules for relationships, which is that we can't acknowledge age differences because every vampire is too old for everybody except potentially other vampires. So that makes every single vampire-human relationship inherently creepy, which it is in a way, but it removes the ability to romanticize part of the fantasy, which is part of it. And I still ship myself with Louis de Pointe-Lac, so I can't have that. I can't. Humans memes, unfortunately. Have you ever been part of any fandom? Not intensely. I've definitely been fans of various bands. And the same with the tabloid culture of, oh, like those two would be cute, but never getting really active and into it in the way of like a Larry ship or anything like that. It does, but not with vampires. Unless it's, I was gonna say unless it's Twilight, but that's mean. It's really unless it's a lot of different vampire fiction that's out there. Let's see. As long as the vampire rules don't include sparkling. Hey, sparkling is back in. I feel like I'm a teenager again. I see all these sparkle unicorn makeup is back, and I'm like, gone back in a time capsule, lip gloss, body glitter. Should have held on to all this stuff. Pretty soon, shorts over pants is going to be a thing again. There's some parts of the 90s we don't need to bring back. In the early 2000s, they can stay back there. Except for Steve imagination. You see, that's how it works. That's how they get you. But Baz isn't an old vampire yet. See, Baz is still, and they don't really establish the vampire rules that much in Carry On. Although the idea of vampires having their teeth broken off is traumatizing, but I still feel the vampire could get blood, even with their teeth knocked off. You still have superhuman strength and abilities and agility. You can grab somebody and use a knife. It's just not going to be as vampire-y. It sounds like I'm giving instructions for defanged vampires as to how to hunt. Baz is a little baby vampire with a widow's peak like Dracula. He's a little baby old man vampire. He's a straw. Has anybody here seen what we do in the shadows? I just keep thinking of the scene where he tries to bite her and cuts her carotid and it's just blood spewing everywhere and he's trying to catch it in his mouth. It could be like that if they're really incompetent at it. Yeah, I don't think he's immortal either. Again, the rules were very unclear as to what happened. If you still age, then why would you want it? Because the one Nicodemus went to become a vampire. And I'm like, well, what's the appeal then? Is it just the strength and the speed? Because couldn't you spell that onto yourself? If I'm not living forever or being young forever, it's not worth it. Not worth it. What were we talking about? We were talking about vampires and ways to drink their blood. Drink blood if you don't have fangs. That's what we were talking about. It's totally normal Tuesday night conversation, you know? These are questions you need to worry about if you're considering an undead afterlife. Yeah, Kimmy, it does have that. I love that joke so much. I love that one. I love That's Why I Always Look 16. Just that whole movie in general has so many things that I love about it because I'm a huge fan of mundane humor. That being when you take something that's supposed to be really fantastic, heroic, exciting, and just apply really mundane, everyday life stuff to it. For me, that's my kryptonite. I think that stuff's hilarious. Andrea, I think that might be it because I've seen vampire fiction like that where you hit this beautiful peak age and you magically stop aging. The vampirism in your blood magically knows that you're the hottest you're ever going to be and just stops you, which would be nice. That would be amazing. Use a needle to get better dental. Yeah, the use of popular language to create Legolas is ancient except for elves. Yeah, Rachel, the use of popular phrases I think is really cool, but you might get I think you get some lame spells like baby got back. What would that even be a spell for? Let's come up with what baby got back would be a spell for. I don't think it would involve butts. I want it to involve something else. I think living forever would be really depressing too. You'd get so bored. You would see everything. Everybody you loved would die. Everything that was familiar to you in the world would change and you would just be there stuck. And you have to kill to live. It's not that romantic. And you're stuck with the same person forever. Bringing back a baby. Yeah, like summoning a baby to you. Just any baby. Not even a specific baby. You just need a generic baby and it brings it to you. When the that reminds me of some Robert J. Sawyer stuff, Megan, where he would write about the extended future where there's just people drifting through space with their consciousness alive and everybody else is dead and has ascended to a heaven-like state and they're still existing. That creeps me out. That's too much. That gets me all existential and gives me goosebumps and chills. It's I think Carry On would have a very of its time soundtrack, whatever that is. I'd love to see a Carry On adaptation. I mean, I don't think that could happen, but that would be really, really interesting. I just want to see the humdrum. I want to see them try to pull off Creepy Little Kid because so few people pull that off well. Sly Firefly, I love it. Baby Got Back is a spell that brings your baby back and forth from daycare via teleportation. Yes, perfect. We're ready. We've made a spell. We can pass 8th year at Watford now. We have successfully made a spell. We're talking about living forever as a vampire. You're living forever as a vampire, not as some other creature or demigod or just kind of random Benjamin Button-esque, like, oh, something magical happened and now I live forever. Into My Arms would also be a good spell. I'd like to be Time Lords. Okay, there are too many rules. Well, it can't be all good. It has to have some rules. Time Lords. I would love to be a Time Lord if the rules were more clearly explained. Like, speaking of rules, that's another thing where the canon is just all over the place and everywhere. And I really need to have that more firmly nailed down for me. I feel like I could get into Doctor Who so much more if they just had one episode that was just really boring and somebody sitting at a chalkboard like, hey, we're going to explain Time Lords and how they work. Also, I know for a while there were no other Time Lords because Superman logic. And that was a really dramatic arc for the Doctor. But I liked when there were other Time Lords and I liked seeing them. And I like seeing them because you can see them now and stuff. And I like Rassilon and all that stuff. So I really wish there were more Time Lords. And I think that would have been a really cool way to introduce a female Time Lord without changing the whole Doctor arc. Because personally, I wish the Doctor had died after 13 regenerations like he was supposed to. And then we could just moved on with somebody else, a different Time Lord who's not the Doctor. The Doctor has been around for a long time. We have most of those adventures that weren't re-recorded over. So I'm ready for more spin-offs that involve other Time Lords and not just side characters. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. You can't be a vegan vampire. It's not possible. You'll waste away. There's no way for you to get blood. I liked Ronnie too. I know Doctor Who doesn't do rules. That's part of his problem. That's why he gets in so much trouble all the time. Sometimes you need to obey the rules, just like the Lego movie taught us. Not all the time, but some of the time. Yeah, that's true. If you're going for a different version of vampire, not the European vampire, because there are different types of vampires, psychic vampires, emotional vampires, like you said, the ones that suck up chi. So it depends, but yeah, you might have a bit of a less of an existential crisis. I wonder if you suck up emotions as an emotion vampire, like you're an empath, like do you have to feel them? Is that part of it? Or do you just get the lame Counselor Troy experience of just knowing them? Coconut water. I'd feel really lame as a vampire drinking coconut water. I don't know why. That's the thing, Cecilia. With a lot of characters, they become entrenched in fandom and they won't get rid of them no matter what. And sometimes I really think that actually extends a character past their welcome and past where they're telling any interesting new stories. And we're just keeping them around just to keep them around. You see that with shows like The Simpsons and stuff. And sometimes just like end. Sometimes you need to leave them wanting more. And that's not something that seems to happen a lot anymore. Oh, strawberry juice. We're going to use Adventure Time rules. Just sucking up just red things. Well, if you only had to have red things, that would be all right. No, I love vampires. And I absorb all of the vampire stuff that I can, all of the different lores, the various fictions, even when they tend towards erotica, because that's a thing. There's a lot of vampire fictions that's skirting the boundaries of that, but that's all right. No, the Doctor Who fandom is not dead. It is still very much going. The Doctor Who fandom waxes and wanes because the Doctor is always changing. So it's a fandom perpetually on the verge of revival, which is kind of one of the cool things about it. Why is Cass starting to annoy you? What's Cass doing? What did Cass do? How is that show still going? You know how that show is still going. Because people are still watching The Attractive Men. That's how it's still going. Are people messaging me? Don't they know? Don't they know that the live chat is happening? No. Oh, the Sherlock fandom, Maria. Did anybody else read that article that Martin Freeman, where he was saying that he thinks that the Sherlock fandom is why there won't be a Sherlock Series 5 because the fandom made it not fun? How does everybody feel about that? I have questions. More of a werewolf girl. Werewolves are cool too. I think you have to do a bit more with werewolves. Again, some of my favorite werewolves are What We Do in the Shadows. I really want a werewolves, not swearwolves shirt because I think that's so cute and hilarious. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right, Rachel. That's why the show continues. That is what is keeping it alive. That is its life, bread and butter, and it knows it. But at least it's kind of willing to do kooky things like Scooby Natural every now and again. So that's fun. Ooh, look, the falling death spec. The falling death spec. That's in every video. It's back. Let's see. The last season of I'm assuming, Andre, you're talking about Sherlock. Yeah, the last season was kind of off the rails a little bit. The Sherlock fandom just started to think they were as smart as Sherlock, and Sherlock isn't as smart as he thinks he is, so that's not a good thing. Oh. No, I get that. Not every part of the fandom is toxic, and I don't know, because part of what Martin Freeman was saying in that interview also was that, the show was such a success right off the bat, so it was doomed to never meet any expectations. And I'm like, okay, there might be some of that, but you also completely changed the focus of the show in the 4th series and got really self-indulgent and introduced something that completely retroactively changed your canon. So that's a lot for people to swallow. Season 4 was in John's mind. I hope not. Okay, does anybody else have a problem with how they treat John in Sherlock and how they essentially tell him that it's his own fault that he gets into these situations with these people because he brings it on himself because he enjoys it? That felt so abusive to me. It just made me so uncomfortable. Like, oh, you like being around these kinds of people. That's why you get into all these situations. And I was like, he was put into a pyre and lit on fire and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, oh, come on. I loved Sherlock, then I read every article bashing. Oh. Oh, Kelly, you wanna sacrifice the criminals to the vampires. But then we have to have a world where vampires are out, kind of like True Blood. I see the Stephen Moffat hate. it took me a while to watch Series 4 Sierra. Like, I was waiting because I heard all the backlash at first, and I was like, I really do enjoy this show. Even though it has a lot of problems, I enjoy it, and I enjoy the portrayals, so I don't want to hate it, even though I had really stopped enjoying it as much post Series 2. But I finally did, and it was just this fascinating, I don't want to say train wreck, because it was still well produced, but lots of the writing and the focus and can Sherlock solve mysteries? That's what I love about Sherlock. I'm actually a Sherlock Holmes junkie. I have all of the stories. I collect pastiches from different time periods. And can we just have him do that? Even the ones where there's a whole series where he's having adventures with Irene Adler in Europe and he still solves mysteries in that. Can we just have that? Also, spin-off show with him and Irene Adler, please. That would have been great. Alex, yeah, reread it. What did you think of it the first time? Tell me. Oh, Demi, I don't know if you should buy it. Maybe if you're a completionist. If you're a completionist, that might be why. I like watching Sherlock more outside of the fandom, to be honest. Like, Sherlock was one of the fandoms where I actually had to take a step back. It was before I started the channel and everything, but I had to take a step back because people got really intense really fast. And it was just, it got really nasty. I remember the nasty. And yeah. Demi, I know the feeling. I was gonna buy Bakano, the light novel volume 1, but then I saw that they have up to volume 8, and I was like, if I start, I won't be able to stop. So let me wait until they're on sale, then I'll do it. I think rereading works is always interesting just to see how you feel about them, whether they still hold up for you. I love rereading and rewatching things. So I'm always very taken aback when people only watch or read something once and that's it and they never come back to it. Is there anybody here like that who just once is enough and that's it and we never go back? Is anybody confused by the fact that bats can drink a whole deer? How much he needs really varies, because if he can drink a whole deer, how many rats is he having an evening? Like, how many rats are on that property? I have questions. Grimjow Lover. Speaking of Sherlock, what are your thoughts on the older shows? I love the Jeremy Brett version so much. I have so much fondness. It's so painful to watch him deteriorate emotionally and physically as the series goes on after the death of his wife and everything. But I still love it, and I love his portrayal. And you know, to the very end, when he fell apart, he was professional and he memorized his lines and he acted his heart out on it. And I love it. And the first 2 seasons of that are prime Sherlock. They're amazing. They're so good. And I actually prefer the first Watson. So those first few episodes for me, they're my Sherlock. I love it. I love it so much. What if he runs out of rats? I know, then he's in trouble. He's in serious trouble because everybody at that school knows that he's a vampire and is just chilling around, not doing it. Like, is Simon the only one wearing a cross? Because he could go off at any time. They talk about Simon going off, but a vampire who doesn't have blood, that's serious business, especially in a school full of children. I'm sure they fall and cut themselves and all kinds of stuff. Security. That school needs way better security. Just like Hogwarts. See you, Blueberry. I hear you on the time. There's often not a lot of time to look back on things. That's why that's the one beauty of everything having a smaller season now, is that when you go to rewatch, it's like, well, I only have 10 or 8 episodes. It's not the whole, oh, I want to rewatch, let's say, Charmed. Let's watch all 26 episodes every season. So much. Oh, people know. Penelope knows. Agatha knows. I'm sure other people know. He's not exactly hiding it. I'm like, has he been hiding in his room and eating every single meal there? They establish that his fangs pop out when he eats. And Simon's like, oh, it's not noticeable. Then it's like, oh, writing, yeah. Starting your own story is difficult. I think the best thing is just to chip away at it a bit every day. And if you not sure about the setting, maybe play around with different settings and see which one feels good for you and which one you can see yourself really diving into and getting involved with. I don't think I could rewatch Supernatural's not a bad rewatch. Oh, Interview with the Vampire is one of my favorite books. I enjoy reading it as she intended it, as a study of her own grief following the death of her daughter, and I feel it's very effective as that kind of text. It definitely has all the other undertones as well because it's clearly working through that too, but as an examination of 2 different parents working through their grief, it's a fascinating text, and the way it stands apart from all of the follow-up novels really highlights that. And how she shoves Louis to his side is very much representation of the fact that he is her grief, and she doesn't need to revisit that, so he doesn't show up very much after that, which is too bad because I love whiny Louis and his whole like, oh, I'm a vampire, and it's awful. But I like him better than Lestat. I mean, Lestat has that whole I'm Lestat and I'm the best. And the books are better when other characters challenge him, but as they go on, especially I think because he's a representation of her husband, and once he dies, the tone very much shifts into he's the greatest and everybody thinks he's the greatest. And that can be very difficult to read because I want people to challenge the brat prince. He's not perfect. And the fact that he's not perfect isn't endearing. It's not always endearing. The stuff he pulls isn't all endearing. He messes up the entire vampire world so many times. It's just like, oh, brat prince. And I'm like, can I have a book about Louis again that isn't Merrick? Night, JJ. I'll see you, kitty cat. I'd love a sequel to Carry On, honestly, just to see what she did with it. That would be very, very interesting. It annoys you when a creator falls in love with a character. Yeah, that can definitely impact the writing style for sure. And that's not my favorite thing either. When you can see that a character is being preferentially treated over the others, it's even harder when you care about the other characters. Like, I really want to know more about the other vampires. And as the books go on too, like, a lot of the rules start to be broken, and I'm not okay with it, because one of the things I love about Interview with the Vampire is that, you know, you shouldn't have child vampires, and the scandal that is Claudia, the child vampire, and the horror of seeing a child grow to a woman trapped forever in a child's body and never able to care for herself, even though she's moved so far past that mentally. And then books later, they're just like, oh, look at these two child vampires that Armand made. And I'm just like, Ebb did deserve better. For sure. I agree with that 100%, especially because they spend... Okay, let's talk about Rainbow Rowell's denouement, or climaxes, as it were, because I often find that they're very rushed. So, like, that was the thing. I was enjoying Carry On a lot, and then all of a sudden it was just kind of like, wrap it up, and abruptly just ended. And I was like, oh... it's over now. Okay. I was listening to it at that point on the audiobook. And then when the next chapter came on, it was like epilogue. I was like, no, epilogue. That's crazy. It can't be done. I kind of loved how just down the rabbit hole you went with the mage. I kind of really loved that. I was looking so much for mage fan art, but there's not. I mean, in my head, the mage is Errol Flynn anyway. I kind of just wanted to use a picture of Errol Flynn when I talked about him in the video, but I wasn't sure if everybody would get the reference, so I just left him out. One day I'll find an excuse to use an image of Errol Flynn. One day. Well, yeah, Lucy for sure. And Lucy deserved to be acknowledged, at least, by some of the other characters. That would have been really cool. Oh, we're trying to start a trending hashtag for a book that came out years ago. People probably think it refers to something else. Yeah, Sly, you're bringing up an interesting point, which is sometimes you can get more invested, not more invested in the world than the author, but spend more time there, because as the creator, you have to jump around to so many different things, and you're working on different things in your life. Whereas as a fan, sometimes you can hyper focus on a text and your fandom in a way that gives you the privilege of being able to memorize the rules and stuff in a different capacity sometimes than the creators, almost, especially if something is long or ongoing. You see that all of the time. Ooh, question for the chat. I like this question. Why do you guys think people turn on J.K. Rowling so drastically in recent years, and does she deserve it? Well, I definitely think the discussion has shifted around her work so much because just discussions that we have about works in general have changed, and many people find that her works are lacking in many of these areas that are now deemed to be far more important when creating fiction. The other thing is that when she first started answering all of these fandom questions, and, just like, oh, and how every year she has that apology for a character that she killed, and she started talking about all the ships that she supported, didn't support, characters she liked, didn't like. She really opened herself up to a lot more criticism from the fandom. And then when it started panning out that a lot of these things seem to be more paying lip service than any kind of genuine feeling, it began to feel a lot like pandering on her part. And no one likes to feel like they're being pandered to or played with. And then on top of that, her social media presence, while not necessarily aggressive, she's not quiet either. And so she very much butts her nose into issues that have nothing to do with her. And so then if she ends up being on the wrong side of it, or people don't agree with her, then she ends up getting all kinds of backlash for sure. I don't deserves it. I don't know. I don't think anybody deserves to be treated badly or poorly. As for people turning on her, I'm not even sure how many people, lots of people have turned on her, but some people are just more critical of her. And I think that her works always deserve to be examined a bit more critically than they were when they were first released. I don't think anybody should be cruel to her or awful to her or anything like that. But I do think that she should be acknowledged as what she is. She's human, and she makes mistakes, and her word is not law, and not everybody's going to agree with everything that she says about her text, and people need to acknowledge that not everything that she did say about her text, I think, came from a genuine place. A lot of it was reactionary to what was going on in the fandom, and maybe partially trying to please people, trying to keep the work in the public eye and keep people interested. And that's part of playing the game. Like, if you have a work, you want to make sure that people keep talking about it, especially if you're going to produce so much more. And yeah, I agree with you, Maria. She does sometimes come across as condescending, because that's how she presents a lot of her opinions too, is that this is the one reading. She is the creator, and that is it. And you just have to like it and take it. And you can't like Jerry. Well, not you can't like Jerry, but you can't like Draco. You have to hate Gilderoy Lockhart, all kinds of stuff like that. But then she'll turn around and do apologies, and she'll give like, oh, I'm so sad that I had to kill these characters. And it's like, well, you're the author. You really didn't have to. I'm not sure it's just a case of letting fandom and canon be separate in this point, because she is directly interacting with like canon and fandom by saying that certain things that fans postulated were things that she also considered, and that makes things very different. Like when you're shipping Hermione on your own, it's very different when the creator comes out and says like, oh yeah, that's something that I considered maybe putting in, and then it kind of alters how some people read the text, because now it's not just something that you were imagining in your head. It's something that the author claims they were considering. And so it kind of puts the entire canon into a bit of a state of not less validity, but less stability, because you feel that the author isn't 100% fully behind her ideas. And even though, of course, creators have different ideas about where they're going to take things, it still can sometimes feel like they're saying like, oh, I'm not actually as attached to this idea as it originally seemed. Yeah, I agree with you, Kelly. I don't think she deserves the vitriol. I don't think anybody deserves the vitriol. The way things get out of hand online is awful. And it can start off with like, oh, I don't agree with this, and end with die in a fire. And that's always awful. I loved Lockhart too. Even in the book, before he was Kenneth Branagh, which only made it better, I liked Lockhart. I don't mean like, oh, he was a great person. I mean, he was an interesting character. And Lockhart was where I first started to question Dumbledore, and that was all the way back in book 2, because I was like, well, how did he get hired? Why did you hire this person? Vet people. It's not hard. Vet people. Go to Gilderoy's Facebook page. No. No, exactly. Nobody deserves hate. There's a huge difference between critiquing people and having a discussion about how maybe you feel they're not handling fandom in the way that you would, or in this new era of interacting with fans, it's perhaps not the best approach to take, or she's perhaps a bit over, I don't know, it's a bit over controlling. I mean, who's to say? It is her world. I don't know how I would feel if I had a massive, giant multi-universe and there were people who wanted to write tie-ins. I mean, I like to think I'd take the Star Trek approach and people could have different tie-ins and spin-offs in their own universe, but that's me coming at it from a fan perspective. I am not sure how I would feel if I would feel that possessive. I like to think I wouldn't. I definitely like to think that I would embrace fandom, but I know she's not Yeah, I see the hashtag. That's definitely going to come up when I do the video. And Kenneth is Gilderoy, just like how Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. Robert Downey Stark. No, you're definitely not the only one who had issues with Dumbledore, for sure. I mean, even in The Cursed Child, they tried to resolve his issues via portrait, which was ridiculous. I don't mind that Harry had a love interest. I just wish that it had been handled better. The romances in the novel aren't that well handled. I mean, Ron and Hermione is okay, but there's this overt focus on the things that happen in your childhood impacting you for the rest of your life. And you can see that in The Cursed Child. Like, even though she didn't directly write that, it very much carries on with that theme. With, you know, like if Hermione didn't go to the Yule Ball with Crumb or whoever, then her whole future would have been different. It's like, it's one day. Calm down. I want to do a Harry and Luna vid. What are we calling that ship again? Huna? I hope we're still not stalling. Yeah, Huna. Ginny and Luna, just because it gives Ginny some more character. I mean, Ginny, and the thing with Ginny is that she has so much potential. And there even is potential for her and Harry and foundation laid for them in the books that isn't addressed when they become a couple. So it's frustrating because it's like there is stuff there you could work with, but it doesn't end up happening. And so it just very much plays off as like, oh, my friend's kid's sister. Hey there. Yeah, I like that approach, the Tolkien approach. If anybody can add to it, and then you always have the base text to refer back to, but you can always have that extended universe. It's very fun. Lenny. Exactly. That's what I was thinking of Phantom Slash, the connection and like that darkness that they've both experienced that no one else has. And I was like, yes, that's something that unites them in a way that nobody else has. Nobody else has that. Oh, all the ships. A girl who does impressions, all of the multi ships, all welcome. All of the Luna ships. Much love for Luna on this stream. Oh, was it Freudian? What? Because it was his brother, not his brother. Bully were like brothers in arms, but his best friend's sister. I just like Neville. Neville was great, but the thing with Harry Potter, and that is addressed more in Carry On, is that you get more time with the side characters in Carry On, and if you're not going to get time with them, they're very, very minimized. But in Harry Potter, you have characters who have like brief little arcs and stuff, and then they just kind of vanish and you don't deal with them. And so there are a lot of side characters like the Pansies and, you know, the Seamus and all that stuff where people want more. And so they have these huge fan-in roles that they don't have in the books. Neville X Happiness is my OTP. I know, right? Poor Neville. He had a horrible school experience. Absolutely atrocious. Harry and Pansy. That's interesting. I'm down for that. Is it Dark Harry or regular Harry? Regular Harry. Pansy gets a decent amount of fandom love, which I'm glad of. Just more Slytherins in general, because they don't explore any more than like 3. And the rest of them is just like, oh, well, they're all evil. All of them to the dungeon. Regular. Pansy and Ron is such a fascinating pairing, and you often see that in Hermione, where people don't flat out hate Ron, and then Pansy is often used for him to get over his Slytherin hate. Regular. I love regularity. I want to make that thing. Oh, Rowling didn't like. She didn't like Slytherin at all. No, there's very much this like a bully is a bully, and that means they're evil, and you just have to deal with it unless it's Sirius Black. He's fine though, because exceptions. Yeah, Theo. The Ron hate. Aussie Nerd thinks the Ron hate is because of the movies. What do you guys think? That's in the future conversations I haven't posted yet, but I remember. Hermione and Theo, just Theo in general, because you can pretty much do what you want with Theo. You can do what you want with a lot of the Slytherins because they're not characterized that much. What didn't you like about them in the books? Tell me. Let me know all of the things. All of the critiques of Harry Potter, yes. I love this series, but I also love critiquing it. It's this perverse relationship. I'm rereading sections of it now for the Grindelwald Dumbledore stuff, so that's been a lot of fun. I need to do a solid reread because there's a couple of Harry Potter ships that I want to do. One's a more self-indulgent one for me. One's a long request, and another one I just think would be interesting to do because we want to do more Femslash. Yeah, they did give a lot of his stuff to Hermione in the movies. I remember that. Look, Sirius can get away with anything, especially after he was Gary Oldman. I know. I have massive, serious issues. I'm so glad that other people are talking about them now because I remember when I was growing up reading the books, I just had to sit in my own little Sirius hating corner, and everybody else loved him. And they treated me like I was a crazy person who had bad taste. Yeah, Yin and Yang, they did. They really wanted to play up those hints like it could potentially happen. And it was funny because you knew it wasn't going to happen. So it's just watching this like, why? Why are you doing this? But then, again, this is why some people have issues with J.K. Rowling because then she comes out and is like, oh, well, maybe I was thinking about it. And it's like, well, bleh. Gary Oldman is Dracula. And that movie has my favorite Keanu Reeves performance, and not because it's good. Oh yeah, no, like there's not that much. There's not as much nuance in Harry Potter as there could be. The series would really benefit from a lot more nuance. I like to try and excuse it by saying, well, it's basically coming largely from Harry, and Harry's a teenage boy, and when you're a teenager, you see things a lot more black and white. But for me, I was always a person who enjoyed the adults in the series a lot more than the children. And that's why book 5 is my favorite. A lot of people ask me, like, how can you like 5? It's so long and so many plot threads are spiraling all over the place. I'm like, well, because it focuses so heavily on the adults and especially the Order of the Phoenix. And I love that. I read so many fics that were entirely Order of the Phoenix based and had none of the children in them at all. And I would just focus on that. I was all into the secret missions, the spying, all that kind of stuff. I didn't need Harry or Ron, Hermione in any of them. I don't know if it's better or not for them to reveal potential plot points. It really depends on how you view that kind of thing. I think it depends on how you present them. Like if you present them as just like, oh, this was like draft 1 way back in the day, I think it's easier to swallow than making it sound like it had real potential to happen, just because people get so attached to these things. And of course there is part of it that's on the fans of that you shouldn't get too over attached or react too vehemently to certain things, especially when canon's already established and done. But a lot of people, it takes them a while to get over their initial reactions. I cried in 6. Even though I don't like 6, I cried in 6. Keanu performance in Let the Two About Nothing. Keanu performances. I wish I had a movie reviewing channel just so I could review Keanu performances. Also Kevin Costner performances, because I find it so bizarre that he was ever a leading man, because I find him so bland. So I kind of just want to chart the course of how we have Kevin Costner and all of these Kevin Costner movies where he's supposed to be a super sexy, super interesting, super action-packed, and he's just not. Oh, it's amazing. Bodyguard is one of my favorite movies for that. The fandom definitely liked the Marauders, but I couldn't get into the Marauders era of fics because I didn't like any of them except for Remus. And I felt like Remus was trapped in this friendship with these people who were kind of low-key using him. And I was like, Remus, get out while you can, but he can't. Oh, I've read some of those too, Kimmy. I love those. Those are good. Yeah, I have seen some of those posts. Littlefinger 2.0. I wish they'd gone deeper into the story of a lot of people, especially the darker wizards, because I find that intriguing. I want to know the history. And that's, again, part of going back to Carry On. You get some of the mindsets of the older families. They're not purebloods, but of the older, richer families and where they're coming from. And not all of them are coming from the same place. And that's interesting because then you get the nuance of seeing all of these different perspectives. And that's fun. And that's how the world can feel so complete, even though A, it's only one novel, and B, it is highly derivative. But because you have all of these additional things brought into it that aren't present in Harry Potter, it comes across feeling very, very different. Yeah, there's a whole issue with, sending Harry back to that place so that he can get essentially the right temperament that is required. Just uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. I would love that, Aussie nerd, so much. That would be so amazing if, again, the Star Trek phenomenon, where it's just we branch out and do the entire universe. We can go across the world. We've laid foundations for different schools, different areas, I want a series about centaurs. I want a series about people fighting for werewolf rights. I need to understand how vampires work in this universe. I want just a series of them fixing all the problems with Hogwarts. I want so many things. I know. Validate Ilvermorny, please, because right now it doesn't have a lot going for it. And no mage is so bad. No mage as I read it, because I can't not read it that way. I know, more realistic America world. Well, Remus and Tonks was so glossed over on the screen, they might as well have not included it, because they paid so little attention to it that it just feels like, let's just cut it, Of all the things that we cut, that could have very easily been cut. No, exactly. The richer families weren't just, like, we want, we're purebloods because Aurora Crime Show. Yes. Oh my gosh, Aurora Crime Show with Harry as a bumbling cop because he hasn't properly been trained. Please, can that be a thing? And he's just there coasting because he's the boy who lived and nobody can fire him. And then an actual confident young upstart comes and he has to be partnered with him. And he discovers that the boy who lived is just kind of coasting on his post-Voldemort fame. I'm not bitter, I swear. Yeah, the different eyes. I notice eye stuff right away. There's the episode Parallels in Star Trek where they go to different parallel universes, and the universe where Data has blue eyes is the one that freaks me out the most. It doesn't matter any of the other changes. Just Data with blue eyes instead of yellow. Really disconcerting. It's really disconcerting. I know we should. Well, again, people kind of are. And that's where it comes down to the fan fiction, because so many of the things we've talked about have happened in fan fiction. There's so many amazing, amazing stories. So I can understand why Rainbow Rowell used that universe as the starting point for her fictional one in Fangirl, because Harry Potter did do so much for fandom in that way, because while it is a world that has a lot going on, it is not the most complete work, and it leaves so many gaps that need to be filled or spaces to jump on that it makes you really want to get more involved in the world, even if you don't care for a particular character or anything. There's just all of that world building potential with Harry Potter, and I think that's part of why it endures to this day, because the universe is so interesting, no matter who you like or dislike. The Ilvermorny house names are off. I know, right? I guess apparently the Americans are just really bad and uncreative at naming all of their stuff. I don't know. I think Harry could continue in the long line of not great Defense Against the Dark Art teachers. Better than some of the ones they had, but definitely not great. Yeah, I'm Horned Serpent. Slytherin across the board. I assume that's the evil house over there, too. There were some great fics, Allie, about them being teachers after, like him and Hermione teaching at the school, and those were a lot of fun. And some of the teachers were still there because, of course, this was pre-7, pre-death, and so some of the other teachers are there too, and it's them interacting with them on a new level of equals, and I loved it. Some of the Snape Harry reconciliation fics, not necessarily snary, but just them coming to terms with each other, both as adults. I loved those. I wish I could give you names. I've printed out so many. I really should I do the fic recs again? Like, is that a thing that should happen? I don't know. He's okay in Order of the Phoenix. I mean, he's teaching a bunch of like-minded people all working towards the same purpose. It's not the same as, you know, having to work with actual just like random kids in the classroom who might not feel like learning their lesson that day or anything like that. I see your reference. I see you. I'm not like, I'm kind of in the Maze Runner fandom, mostly vicariously because my little brother is. My little brother keeps me up to date with a couple of fandoms, like the Transformers fandom and all of that stuff. I loved those fics too, where Snape raises Harry as his own. Like, he has all of these assumptions that Harry is just this snotty brat kid, and he finds out the conditions he's living in and he does something about it, which those stories gained more and more credence the more you learned about his backstory, which I absolutely, oh, so much potential. There's so much potential, guys. It's hurting me. It's hurting me. There's so much unexplored potential. It has nothing just to do with ships, just plot points. So many unexplored plot threads, guys. Okay, so since we're doing mostly a Harry Potter chat, I have to, oh, Malfoy has raised Harry. I have to ask, favorite ship? Let me know. Come on. I can't believe I haven't asked that yet. What's your guys' favorite Harry Potter ships? Let me know. Tell me. Hermione, Drarry, exclamation mark. Wolfstar, Drarry. Oh, lots of Drarry. Score. I know, right? I want to read fics now too. Oh, Tamari. I got some requests for Tamari as a video. Oh, no one's put mine yet. I feel special. No, but no, it can be in either. It doesn't matter. All of the universe. All universe welcome you. All of it. Oh, Hermione and Crumb. Love for Hermione and Crumb. I think that Rowell did too, because that seems to be the pairing that she's emulating in Carry On for Penelope, who's her Hermione stand-in. Oh, still no one's picked mine. I'm so alone. Ah. Drapple. Well, I mean, Drapple is just the best pairing, hands down. I mean, as soon as you get into food pairings, those are always great. Mine, okay, Snoopin. Chowix happiness. Yeah, I know, right? She gets so shafted in those series. The Malfoy fics were interesting. Yeah, any fics that dealt with the Malfoy family, I was intrigued by. I needed to know more. There was some interesting Lucius grappling with what was going on fics that I was into. Simon X Sour Cherry Scones. Yes. Scones or scones? I don't know. I say scones. We say scones here. I think scones sounds classier, though, than scones. Yes. Yes, Snoopin', Aussie nerd. Snoopin'. Are there? Yes, there are good Snoopin' fics. They're printed out in my file folder over there. I still try and read them. There are a lot of good post-epilogue fics. I prefer the ones that were written when book 5 was first released, but that's just me. Oh, Bellatrix fics. Yeah, dark Bellatrix fics. Yes, I had heard of that fan site. I miss a lot of the just individually hosted fan sites. Like the one for Doctor Who is still up, and I'm so glad of that, but a lot of the Harry Potter ones are down. Yes, we are talking about ships right now. Yes, more Neville X happiness. Neville X character, like just please expansion for Neville. Neville is the chosen one. Yeah, I was sad that Teddy wasn't in the Cursed Child. It would have been cool to see Teddy, the hot pink werewolf, as fandom dubbed him. I saw a couple of Luna and Hermione. I've seen that floating around. Yes, Neville does need more love. I mean, I think he's got plenty of love on this chat. We just need to extend that outward. And not just because the actor grew up to be hot, like character love. I know. I liked reading the fanfic sections of Fangirl as well because it was actually written like a fanfic. It wasn't that awkward mocking fanfic that you often get when people write fanfic, or that assumption that all fanfic is written inferiorly, which is another thing that you often get when people attempt to delve into fanfiction. That's one of the things I really appreciate about Rowell's work, is that she clearly has an understanding of fandom in the fandom realm and is part of it herself, not necessarily that fandom, but just fandom in general. And you can see that in her tweets and on her Tumblr, and just she gets it. And so it's nice to have somebody who gets it work in it, even if it's not your favorite work or anything. It's just nice to see somebody coming at it from that angle. Well, that's the thing when you're working with child actors, right? You never know how it's going to go. Like, I don't think anybody anticipated that Harry was going to be one of the shortest ones when they started out. And that was always really awkward because everybody was looking down on him all the time. Snames. I can't say I've ever seen any of those sweet fics you mentioned. I am intrigued. For I will read pairings that I am not entirely into. All caps. That's how I felt inside, but yeah, no, there are amazing fanfic writers out there, and it can be a really great writing tool. And there are a lot of good works, and fan fiction isn't all just, cringe, as the kids say, which I hate as a term, by the way, written by 13-year-olds, because cringe doesn't mean anything. Cringe has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the other person. It's the other person's secondhand embarrassment. So how is that an insult to anybody? Just because somebody else feels embarrassed doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. So I don't know. I'm so salty tonight. Why am I so salty? Yeah, I can see like Snames would obviously be rare. Oh yeah, they're the Nuna people are here. Salt is always good. No, then you can't see my final form. I am the salt creature from Star Trek in my natural habitat. That's just me. I need salt to live. Snape X smiling. That's cute. Yeah, I felt like I feel like fan fiction can be a really good writing tool. They frown upon it a lot in official settings because they want to kind of keep everything separate and have this idea that, professional creative writing is so much higher and better than fan fiction, but really it's not. People have talent or they don't. There are different tropes. That doesn't mean that some of the tropes are better or not. They're just different formats, different audiences, different methods of getting the work out there. That's awesome, Heather. It's always nice when that happens because that doesn't happen a lot. A lot of times it's more like the fangirl situation. Well, the situation that happened in the novel Fangirl, wherein, well, that's partially her fault too because she tries to submit fan fiction, but I know, I'm so salty. I don't know what's wrong with me. I haven't read anything particularly annoying either. Like all of the art. Well, I did read the Starfire costume controversy, and that got me pretty salty because there was no controversy there. Duh. I agree that it can, like, sometimes obvious can be fun, but oh, I know, Kelly. Do you remember, like, back in the this was an early Supernatural thing where they would pick fics and read them at cons, and they would always pick really uncomfortable ones, and they wouldn't always ask the author's permission. That always made me so sad. And there's a show, and of course I'm blanking because now I'm trying to draw it up, where they would actually read like RPF and stuff to the actors who were on the show and show them NC-17 art of themselves, other people on the show. And it was just really uncomfortable, and it made fandom look awful. It made the actors uncomfortable. It made everything come across like a huge joke. And it was just, I hate when people do that. That's exactly what I was talking about, the Graham Norton show. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know what I'm talking about. I can't with that show. I watch it sometimes because like occasionally topical stuff happens and it's interesting, and sometimes the actors give good quotes or whatever that I like to reference or source in my videos. But the reading of the fan fiction, I just, it's not funny. It's not funny. It's just people put time and effort into that stuff. Even the stuff that doesn't turn out well, somebody put time and effort into, and it's just, it's unkind. It's just very unkind. Yeah, I remember when they did it to Tom Hiddleston. Like, Tom Hiddleston is really good at managing a fandom, so he handled it pretty well, but it's just, I can't. And the thing is that not all actors are into it, and that's fine too. And I think you should be able to go onto a show and stuff and not be accosted with, let's say, NC-17 art of yourself. You know, if you want to deal with that in your own setting, that's fine, but just go somewhere and be like, here, art. And they don't run everything by you exactly on the show, you know, like they might just say something like, oh, we're going to show you some art, is that cool? And they're not necessarily going to say, you know, like, we're going to show you a picture of you banging Chris Hemsworth, are you into that? It does. It faints. It faints. I fainted. No, it paints fandom in this light of people who are just very hyper focused on really sexual PWP smut, not plot based kind of stuff. And it's like, that's a part of fandom, but it's not all of it. And there's so much more to it. And fans dedicate so much time and love to these things. And it's just really unfair to use them for such a cheap laugh, you know? Oh, I want to see that show. Good fan art's nice. I know Lana Parrilla collects fan art for once, which I think is really cool. No, it's not, because like a lot of the times when you post on certain sites and stuff, you enter this awkward public domainy, it's on the site, we own it kind of thing. My thing is that when they don't give credit, that's always really uncomfortable. Just, you know, just show something, not source, not linked back, not anything like that. Especially because sometimes some artists actually actively ask you not to repost their work. And like, whenever I see that, I don't use it, because if you don't want it reposted, you don't want it reposted. So, you know, it's cool when the actors talk about it. It depends. Again, everybody has different gauges on how they feel about this. Like, some people really like when they talk about it, some people don't. And when they talk about it, you always run the risk of somebody slipping up and saying the wrong thing, which I think is very stressful for a lot of them, because it's a new arena to navigate now. And before, I think a lot of them are more used to an environment where you could kind of talk a bit more flippantly about it. And now all of a sudden you can't. Oh, I know. Yeah, the blindsiding is what's awkward. Well, it's the thing, monsters and musicals. It's like when they find it on their own terms, and if they bring it up, like that's completely different than you go on a show and someone's like, "Let me read you this fan fiction about yourself." It's just, Zane, my least favorite fanfic for Harry Potter is The Cursed Child. Zing. And yet it's the one official one. Oh, we're so mean on this stream today. I love it. It is truth. It is. I wish it was. I get why people like it. I do. I do. And I don't want to I don't want to bash anybody for liking it because I know there are people who like it. I just don't. I'm not one of them. Even reading summaries of dirty fics, it's just like, how does anybody feel about the actors reading the thirsty tweets? Like that's a thing right now. I don't know how I feel about that. I watched Jeff Goldblum read thirsty tweets over on BuzzFeed. I mean, it's on BuzzFeed, so that should already tell you something, but I don't know how I feel about that. It's like some of them are kind of funny, but I feel like it would be funnier if I found it on my own, just perusing through Twitter and less awkward. It was only slightly less awkward because it was Jeff Goldblum, and Jeff Goldblum can pull off the awkward kind of stuff really well. But I remember when they also did it for John Boyega and Oscar Isaac reading thirsty tweets, and I was just like, no, please stop. Please stop. Who was the most daddy? Who won the most daddy? I need to know who won the most daddy. Jeff Goldblum is daddy, but who's the most daddy on... I love how we're just saying this casually. I remember when nobody would say that. Who's the most daddy on Riverdale? Okay, but Zane, it would have been better if the Doctor was there. It is... Codename Z said, it shamelessly rewrites established canon and his bad/couples and revisits major points. All it's missing is the Doctor. The Doctor would have made it better if the Doctor just showed up in his TARDIS. He's like, guys, this is an alternate universe. Everybody into the TARDIS. I'm still getting over the fact that we're talking about daddy on the... I can't say that word anymore. I never called my dad daddy, though, so at least I don't have that connotation with it as well to have to work through. That's the thing. What is good is subjective. Yeah, they're going to do Sabrina stuff. I'm interested to see how we revisit Sabrina now, years later. There will always be a soft spot in my heart for Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the TV show. Yeah, I know Poppy is. I can't say Poppy either. I also don't pronounce it with the correct inflection, so I think that's just uncomfortable for, you know, anybody who actually speaks Spanish, because I don't speak it with the greatest accent. I know, Martina, you left at the wrong point. Now we're talking about terms for daddy kink. That's where we got. That's not what anybody would expect when they come onto the stream seeing the thumb and title, but that's where we are now. Yeah, my dad's just dad. That's it. He's always just been dad. Metal arm kink? Are we like Bucky's arm, like Cable's arm? Is that what metal arm kink is? Is that what we're dealing with here? Because I've actually read a decent amount of those fics, but Bucky's. Oh yeah, Shiro too. He's got to join the club. That was one of my favorite Winter Iron sources of fics. Tony fixes Bucky's arm. It's especially pre-Civil War, even after, because I can work around Civil War. It's fine. But just Tony working to fix Bucky's arm, getting to know the new Bucky, who he is now, helping him work through his PTSD, because in my headcanon, Tony's actually had help and some therapy, and people actually listen to him, unlike Bruce, who at the end of Iron Man 3 is like, oh, I wasn't listening to your tale of woe and PTSD, and apparently that's hilarious. Iron Man 3. All the metal arms, yes. Cable's arm. Deadpool's kink for Cable's arm is canon, so let's see if that makes it in. The Winter Paladin, yes. Space Daddy and Daddy Returns. There's no escape from Daddy in this chat. Is Dream Daddy dead already? I still haven't played, guys. I have it on my computer. I'm waiting till I have time to really get into it because I'll have to play those games for a good like 2-3 hours straight. So I'm waiting to get into it. I was going to stream it, guys. It can't be dead. More than 2. Shame. No jokes. Why did you like it more than 2? Let me know. I want to. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. I'd like nobody else will enjoy this game with me but you guys. You get it. See, I didn't feel like they explored it well. I feel like they touched upon Tony's mental health, which I thought was important, but I found that the humor to serious tonal shifts didn't really work for me. And then also, of course, the whole Guy Pearce is the Mandarin. Guy Pearce Mandarin payoff. I love Guy Pearce, but Guy Pearce is not a payoff in that movie. It's just not. You can't throw shirtless Guy Pearce at me and be like, haha, do you like this Mandarin better? Because no, I don't. I know there were so many reasons why they had to change it, appealing to the Chinese market, dealing with all the people who didn't want that kind of negative representation, just all of that stuff. But it got to the point where I was like, well, maybe we should just done a different plot then because this one didn't work. And then to have to tie all the other stuff back into it canonically after the end of Iron Man 3. Also, I wasn't a fan of them getting rid of his arc reactor. I'm a fan of Tony with the arc reactor, and I feel that if he'd had the arc reactor, the scene in Civil War, like I said last time, would have been much more poignant if bringing it down, because the symbolism, what that would have meant, would have just been hammered home so much more. Tony's arc reactor. That's the thing. I agree with Spoonie Beauty. Like, they kind of bring them up sometimes, then push them aside for comic relief, snarky Tony when they need it. That happens a lot in Homecoming because he still hasn't dealt with a lot of his issues. He hasn't dealt with stuff, and they haven't dealt with it. And it's unfortunate because he has one of the more significant. Or sorry, I keep thinking about Space Poppy Shiro. It's fine. Let's see. Arc Reactor Kink. Yeah, Arc Reactor Kink is a thing. Actually, there are a bunch of Arc Reactor themed stories on the Kink meme. There was a prompt that was posted over and over again. I think I've read every iteration of it, which is the Avengers are in danger and Tony has to take out his arc reactor to save them. Like, all their tech is failing and his arc reactor has the tech that they can tech the tech to save him, Star Trek style. And so they got to take it out, and then he's there dying and they have to rush to save him, and how they feel about him comes out, because that was a big thing of the Kink memes back in the day. Everybody felt that Tony was kind of maligned on the team and they didn't treat him very well. So there was a lot of fix-its in that regard, which I was also a big fan of. Yeah, I like those fix too, Schlebby. Oh yeah, Daniel, I have been following all the Channel Awesome debacle, yeah, for sure. Let's see. Most canon pairings MCU are well, they don't deal with character development, but I don't think they're boring. I mean, how is flirting with someone at a funeral boring? It's too inappropriate to be boring. Yeah, I wish they did more with Black Widow. I really love Black Widow, and I was actually kind of there for her being Team Tony a bit. That was interesting, and I wanted them to address more of their history together, and I really wish they would bring that up more, because she was there with him through Iron Man 2, and they have that connection, and they don't bring that up enough. And I do wish they had maybe dived a bit more into Nat Steve, or if they were going to do Nat Bucky, or just, really flesh her out. Tony isn't a single dad. He has Captain America. They're divorced right now. I don't know if they're going to work it out off screen, but I really hope they deal with what happened there. I've read tons of fics where they're really salty, like me, and they're just Steve waiting for Tony to call him on the phone, but he doesn't. And when they finally meet up again, Tony's like, well, you told me to call if I needed you, and I didn't need you. And I'm like, oh, it's very frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And I'm just like, yes, he didn't need to use your stupid, outdated flip phone. If Nat gets her own movie, that would be cool. I'd be fine with Bucky having a love interest. I mean, I think it would be really cool if it was Natalie. Natalie? What am I doing? Natasha, because it's only 10:52, guys. It's not that late. But I think that would be really cool because they kind of hinted that they might be going for the backstory where they knew each other. And I really loved the comics exploring the backstory where they knew each other and just the tragedy of that. Natalie, what am I doing? Natalie Romanoff. Oh, God. Let's see. I'm here for sultry Tony. I'm here for dancing Tony. Just, it's the Sam Rockwell for me. Just like how he has to dance all the time. Can Tony dance all the time? That would be great. I know, Natalia Romanova. It's the mirror universe for mirror universe Black Widow. That's the thing. I'm fine with love interests so long as they take the time to develop it. A lot of times with the comic adaptations or just adaptations in general, what they do is they rely on your background knowledge. They did that with Steve and Tony's friendship. They were just like, oh, well, you know they're friends, so we don't really need to deal with it. And we're going to throw in lines like, oh, so was I, in regards to the friendship that was never developed. And they did that a lot. Same with Steve and Sharon. It's just like, oh, yeah, they're together in the comics, so they're together here. And it's like, well, no, you still need to try. At least they're trying a bit with Scarlet and Vision. And I'm sure they will have a much better MCU relationship than they do in the comics, where they have a horrible, messed up relationship that I still am really into. Yes. Does anyone really want to see Pepper and Tony? Yes. Yes, I do want to see Pepper and Tony making awkward small talk over a date. Yeah, where like he's teching all the tech and she's running his business because he doesn't. And we're somehow supposed to pretend that they have a really positive relationship that's not just her helping him. I couldn't even remember Sharon's name. That's cold. That's cold. Like my dinner with Andre, but it's Pepper and Tony. Yes. I'm here for Tony and Aunt May. I love the idea of him being with someone so down to earth, ready-made family, even though it hurts my super family heart. I'm here for that headcanon where Tony is just Peter's dad. He's secretly his dad. Oh, the Marvel ships is a rabbit hole. Like once you go down there, you can ship anybody with anybody else. And this just, for a while, I was reading all these Tony T'Challa fics. It was an interesting time. With great status comes great capacity for smuggling drugs. What are we doing? How did we get here? How did we get here? I'm going to stop naming these. Oh, Loki and Nebula. Yes. Yes. I know, so many fix and pairings, so little time. There is never enough time, especially because there are always new fandoms and new stuff coming. I'm going to be so sad when the Marvel excitement peters out because it is such a constant source of new fix and ships and just fandom in general. I'm going to miss it. This is a wonderful phenomenon. May it never end. I know it's going to burn itself out, but I, for one, am not ready, even though it's been years. I literally ship everyone together. Please send help. I can't. I'm in the same boat. I can't send help. We're in the boat together. I don't know. I'm gonna stop naming these chats. We're just gonna name them random things. They're just gonna be called "How did I get here?" Shipping all the ships and all of those kind of things because that's all they end up being. The boat is a garbage can. It's like Oscar the Grouch's garbage can. It's the TARDIS of garbage cans. It's bigger on the inside than the outside. Elmo and Grouchland, but with ships. Yeah, I know. We should just call them Tuesday Talks because, like, Talk Time Tuesday, that's better. Oh, everybody's better at naming things than me. I'm such a bad titler. It's a problem. It's 5 a.m. where you are? Oh my goodness. Yes, I am going to do some Shadowhunter stuff for sure. It's just that I need to reread the books and there's no time, guys. No, not shipping Elmo. Just the idea of like Grouchland being like a shipland. That would be cool. I wish they'd kept Quicksilver around too. I was hoping against hope that it would just be like, guys, he's still alive. Quicksilver. And remember, everybody was shipping Quicksilver with Hawkeye. Remember when that was a thing? I read the crossover with Quicksilver and the Flash. Like, I did. The canon DC Marvel crossovers, I love those. I know. It was all like, oh, we have him, but we don't, because I guess we're worried that people will compare him to the X-Men Quicksilver. So we can't have two at the same time. That's impossible. Yeah, that was a huge thing. Everybody was shipping him and Hawkeye for a while. It gave Hawkeye something to do, so that was nice. Have you been reading all the articles that are just like, Hawkeye is going to have a super secret role in Avengers Infinity War? I'm like, is he? Is he? Is it going to be super secret like his family? Oh, I've done like tons of videos on crossovers. I was saying this last time, for those of you who were here, I wanted to do a series called Crossover Corner, where I just reviewed crossovers. It's one of my less awful titles for things. Super secret. He's going to shoot an arrow at the bad guy. Top secret. Top secret archery, which is incorrect archery. I actually did some archery courses recently, and they actually tell you not to do archery that way. They specifically are like, you don't hold the arrow like they do in the MCU. Cold Flash all day. Yeah, I want to do Cold Flash at some point. That'll be fun. Top secret plot twist. Arrow himself shows up, launching the giant Arrowverse MCU crossover the world didn't know it needed. Hawkeye had a really good series, actually, about the time that the first movie came out. Matt Fraction, I think. That one was good. Yeah, we did Spidey Torch. That was fun. I liked looking back at Spidey Torch and examining all the old comics. I realized there were a bunch that I still need to collect. Their friendship is adorable. It's so great. And just, I really like the Fantastic Four. Actually, the Fantastic Four are my favorite superhero team. They are, actually. And I collect, you can't see them. Why am I pointing? Over there is a shelf full of comics. And I have pretty much all of their arcs. I love them. I wish somebody could do a good adaptation where they were interesting, because they're really interesting in the comics. Oh, yeah, Black Widow and Hawkeye. Everybody was thinking it was going that way, and then Secret Family, because they needed to give him something to do. Also, I think the comments he made about Black Widow in between really unendeared him to a lot of fans. I'm not sure how much of it they'd written at that point, but I know that wasn't a good look for him. Teen Titans is fun. I like the new Teen Titans, the comic run in the 80s. Like, that one is a lot of fun. I've been recollecting, and I'm hurrying to grab the last individual snippets because they're re-releasing it in omnibus form again. And I'm like, no, I can't repurchase all of this. Must get all collected into snippets. Yeah, I want to do more DC ships. I try to jump around. I like to do a variety of different ships from different places, because I don't like to privilege one thing over another. At least I try not to. I try to go all over the place, just like fandom itself. No, they're not really stable at all. They're pretty dysfunctional, actually. At their best, they're stable, but they're really dysfunctional. And I hate Reed. I hate Reed Richards so much. They were talking about casting John Krasinski, I think. They were like, wouldn't he be great? And I was like, no, he's too charismatic. I want someone awful like Reed himself. Oh, I'm seeing all Blue Pulse. Oh yeah, Blue Pulse. Young Justice. The Bad Bros ships, I can see why they do make some people uneasy. It depends where you're coming at them from. There's so many different canons to come at them from that I can see why some people do ship them. Who's my favorite Peter Parker? I assume you mean Movieverse. I know Reed is a douche, but my favorite Peter Parker? Okay, so if we could marry the social environment of Tom Holland's Spider-Man with the performance of Andrew Garfield with the villains of Tobey Maguire, then we would have my ultimate Spider-Man universe. Dick stroke? I know. If I do ever make a video, a self-indulgent video about that, I'll call it Slade Dick or something else. Deathwing. Deathwing. I'll call it Deathwing. Okay, that's what we'll call it. But in my heart, I will always be thinking that it should be called Dick Stroke. Good night. Good night, Martina. Sladen. I can't read that without saying Sladen. Slade Wing. Deathwing. Yeah, Deathwing. John Cusack, I think, is a bit too old now. Who's my dream? You know what? The thing is, I actually liked Miles Teller because he gives off good jerk vibes when he wants to. I want someone who just seems arrogant and like he's too good for everybody else and neglecty. Someone arrogant and neglecty. Give me an actor who's arrogant and neglecty. Oh yeah, Slade and Oliver is a thing. It is a thing. I've been there. I've been to that world. Kanye. Kanye is Reed Richards. Is Kim Kardashian Sue Storm? Is this an adaptation I need in my life? Oh. Oh. Is it good? Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie, Reed Richards. I could maybe see it. I could maybe see that. Is it good? It depends. It depends who's writing it. It can be good. I mean, there's so much potential. I mean, you know, I was trapped on an island for X amount of years with a ton of people. Can that be the new intro? My name is Oliver Queen. I was on an island with tons of people who I still know to this day. I don't know. I don't feel like Michael B. Jordan doesn't do it for me. Like I always want him to give a bit more in his performances. Like for example, Black Panther, I loved everybody except for him. He's beautiful to look at, but I want more. I want more from him acting wise. Oh, Nightmare. Hi. When you're late, we're just winding down. It's actually been 2 hours. I don't know. I don't think he was that good in Creed. Like, I don't know. I've seen all of the Rocky things. Like, I don't know. No, he didn't. He didn't get to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a stone cold heart. It didn't faze me. Oh, Errol, am I forgetting to say my name again? That's a thing that happens. It's Sasha. I always forget. I always forget to say my name. It's not a secret or anything. I just forget to introduce myself. Just like I forget to plug my social media or anything ever. Yeah. Oh yeah, Zane, you can use my name. It's not a secret. I do remember sometimes. I just don't remember all the time. I'm bad. I'm a bad YouTuber. I don't know how to YouTube. The Shipper. That makes me sound like some kind of like costumed villain by the night. I kind of love it. The Shipper, breaking into bookstores, organizing comics by favorite pairing. No, I don't even YouTube. I don't even YouTube, bro. Egads Batman. It's the shipper. That would actually be a really fun parody comic. Like a really nice, lighthearted way to both gently mock and lovingly engage with fandom, like a Silver Age style comic about shipping. That would be great. The shipper. I kind of love that. Oh man, I wish there was fan art of that. The shipper. That would be amazing. Pow Kabam fanfic. Yes. Oh man, it's drawing itself. I'm having another moment where I wish I could draw. Ah. Who would I ship myself with? My husband. That's who I ship myself with. Like, okay, if we're gonna, are we talking about like fandom people? Oh my god, Sunset Nirvana, if you did, that would be amazing. That would be so amazing. Yay! Muppet art. I have random Funko Pops, like just random Pop Funkos. Who's over there? Bubbles, Gurr. Okay, so we got Bubbles, Gurr, the Reverse Flash, and the Wendigo from Hannibal. Just because I think it's a really cool design. No, they don't always wait until Nightwing. They don't. There are tons of fics where there's some where it's just young fics, and then there are some actual grooming fics, and those ones are really uncomfortable. Like where they're just, some of them address it as that, and some of them just are, that's what's going on. I need some Spider-Gwen stuff. Like a lot of the clothing, the tiny clothing was cute, but it was expensive at the time. I mean, I just got a Pudding Harley Quinn sweater the other day because it finally went on clearance at Hot Topic, which I can't go into because it's too small where I live and I don't want to go in there anyway. So I order online. I like to collect the horror pops. Those are really fun. I like getting all those. I still need my Freddy Krueger pop. Oh, do I like Let's Watch the Movie fanfics? Sometimes. They need to be well done, though. I read a few for Vampire Chronicles back in the day where it was they found the movies, which was, I found it kind of like metally plausible because within the books, Lestat becomes a rock star. So it kind of was, and within the books, their autobiographies exist in that universe. So I found it conceivable that they would be adapted and that our adaptations are adaptations of real texts kind of thing. So yeah. We're talking all the horror, all horror. I can't ship myself with anybody but my husband. I don't know how did the Bat family like the movies? I have questions. I think I need this fic. I think I need this fic in my life. Yes, he is my OTP. I guess I can't say I don't have an OTP then. Yeah, the Bat Fam is a lot of fun. I really like the ever expanding Bat Fam. Except for Damien. Persibeth. There's another one I need to do. I need to do the Percy Jackson stuff. Oh, that is a great Avatar episode. Yeah, where they see the play that is not subtly making fun of Zutara, but I don't care because Zutara is still incredibly plausible in my mind. I know, works alone. I'm a lone wolf. I don't have time for partners except for the 8 people who I already work with. I love Gen Bat fanfics for sure. I love bringing Jason Todd back into the fold fics. Those are a lot of fun for me. I love Bruce and Dick working through their issues. Fix. Those are really fun as well. I don't mind like Dick and Damien fics, even though I don't like Damien at all, but some of the fics are really well written. Oh, I know, I feel you. Not a lot of people were there for Zuko and Mai. Oh, I know, Cassandra Cain. Like, Cassandra Cain doesn't get acknowledged enough, and I have a hard time when it comes to collecting all of her issues and stuff together. I don't think we'll get them in the DCEU, unfortunately. That would be really cool. Even though I could imagine that Batman having had, you know, a family. I can see it. Let's see. Which female Robin? Carrie or oh my god, Stephanie, for the 2 seconds that she was Robin before she died. In quotation marks. Is the Nightwing movie still being made? I don't trust anything until it's in front of me. I don't trust it. I mean, I'll watch it. He'll never be as beautiful as he is to me in my head, but I'll still watch it. Oh yeah, just the way they killed Stephanie off was really awkward, and I can see why there was such a backlash to it. I heard about the Xena show. I did hear about that. I don't know. I'm always so iffy with reboots. I'm just worried everything's going to turn into a Charmed situation. The Charmed reboot sounds really awful. I mean, Charmed isn't that great to begin with, so you would think you could only go up. Oh, dark and gritty Nightwing? No, thank you. Oh, dark and gritty Nightwing. I'm cringing just thinking about Nightwing comes out with his renegade red costume on. Just darkness. Because it gives them shock value. That's why they kill them all the time. Also because they don't know what to do with them. They don't know how to write them. There was actually, when they were thinking of killing Nightwing off back during the Crises arcs, the reasoning was actually because they were like, well, he's not Robin and he's not Batman. Who is he? What does he do? And it was like, he's Nightwing. And that's why for a while you have Jason Todd as Nightwing as well. And you have the arc where there are 2 Nightwings, because the plan was that Dick Grayson was going to die and then Jason Todd was going to be Nightwing. But then it didn't happen, but they had already started the arc. So you had 2 Nightwings for 2 seconds. And then Jason Todd was a tentacle monster for 2 seconds too. Yeah, I know. Who wanted a Charmed reboot? I have so many questions. I have so many questions. Yeah, I didn't love the red costume either. I knew what they were trying to do. They were trying to do a motif across all of the Robins, and because his previous Robin costume had red in it, and they all had red, and so they were supposed to look uniform, and I get it. But they had already established in the previous canon that when he had the red costume, he was evil. So that was all well, he wasn't evil. He was working for the mob, but that was all I could think of. Yeah, Jason Todd as Nightwing was very slashy. He had a knife. Yeah, Keiko and O'Brien are interesting. They are interesting. I'll give them that. I remember when Beast Boy was red. Damien is Nightwing in Injustice. I think that works. I actually like that version of Damien just because I feel like he earns a lot of his backstory there. I wasn't a huge Keiko fan, but I did like the couple, but I did feel that they had a lot of issues they had to work through that Miles was just working through by hanging out with Julian on the holodeck. We're talking about so many things, Chris. We're talking about Star Trek ships and Batfam ships and Robin's dying and all kinds of stuff. We're everywhere. I don't know if it's genuine nostalgia though for the 90s, or if it's just people thinking that people are nostalgic for a lot of stuff. Because what about the reboot? I was always one of those people who was sad about how Reboot ended, but I also didn't need a reboot. So yeah, there's that. Are we pronouncing this Lestrade or Lestrade? I always forget. If I haven't seen the episode, like a Sherlock episode right before, I always forget. The reboot of Reboot is a crime against TV. No, nothing will be the Powerpuff Girls reboot where they twerked. I was here and I was willing to give it a chance, and then they twerked. And I was there were two things. A, they're twerking, and B, this is so a reference of its time that when you watch it in a few years, there's just gonna be twerking. And it's just The reboot of Reboot needs a reboot. Nice. Yeah, but is it Lestrade or Lestrade? It could be either. That still could be either. I actually really like Teen Titans Go. I do. It has that, like I was talking about earlier, it has that whole putting people in mundane situations that I'm all about. I actually think it really does its own thing, and I view it as a parody and pastiche, and it really works for me. Some of like the random, like some of the episodes don't work, but a lot of them really do. And the way they explore different animation styles and different types of storytelling, where they get meta with their fans, they have the Crosshair episode with Young Justice, just all kinds of things. I'm really all Papa Lestrade. Why did we have to bring it back? Now I'm thinking about that. I don't know. I always said Lestrade. I don't know. It's one of those things. Oh, the night begins to shine. Yes. The ultimate 80s ballad. I have songs like that too. I could really relate to that episode. Just songs that I play all the time. I like Justice League Action as well. I don't love the Wonder Woman in Justice League Action too much. She's okay most of the time, but in like there's one solo episode with her that I was actually going to do an entire analysis of, just because it was so off that I was just like, ugh. But then I just felt it would just be me complaining, so I was like, let's not do that right now. I can't say anything about accents. I have an accent. Sometimes I hear it. That's always a weird moment when you hear your Canadian accent. Sometimes I'll say a word and I'll just in my ear, I'll hear how it sounds. And I'm like, oh, there's my accent. Yeah, I'm Canadian. I thought people knew that. See, I don't say my name. I don't say where I'm from. I just don't YouTube. I like the Southern accent. I like all accents, really. And I'm really into, I don't know, to me all British accents sound really different, like depending on where they are regionally, but I grew up hearing a lot of them, so I've learned to distinguish them over time. Oi, Canada is amazing. I don't think my husband and I would be a fictional couple. We have our own dynamic and our own thing, and I don't think I could conflate it with any of the others. I love how we work, and I don't think any like fictional married couple has come close to what we have, and that sounds super arrogant, but I don't mean it that way. Even if you don't even YouTube, bro, we still love you. Thank you. I didn't think your accent was that strong, Demi, when we did our conversations. I didn't. What word do you hear accent with the most? It's more like consonants, like can't and stuff like that. Can't, don't. Just words where you have to stretch vowels. I find I kind of hear it. Is it amazing? A. We do. I do say A sometimes, and I catch myself, and I'm like, I'm saying A. I've never been to the East Coast. That's the thing. Like, I haven't been to a lot of Canada. I've been to Spain. I've been to Quebec. I haven't been to all of it, though. I still want to visit a lot of Canada. Wolverine is Canadian. Yeah, he is. Just like Deadpool, if he actually is Wade Wilson. It's confusing. Oh my God, ultimate OTP, Morticia and Gomez. If my husband and I could be anybody, I wish it was Morticia and Gomez because I love them. They were the best couple. Oh, how do you get on favorite stations? Just email me. Email me and message me, and we talk about it. And then, of course, my patrons do have first dibs, and so those ones will happen first and get up first. But I love doing them. They're a lot of fun. What province am I from? Ontario. I'm from Ontario. I know. I've heard about that Deathstroke movie. I don't trust anything. Oh no, don't be worried. It's a fun time. It's fun. Like I understand being anxious and stuff. You know, I get anxious doing this, like coming on and everything. Like even before I was a bit nervous, but it's fun. Speaking of that, though, it is almost 11:30 here, so I should get off for tonight at least. We'll do this again next week. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just gonna name it. I don't know, just something generic because we're just gonna go everywhere anyway, and that's fine. Actually, before I go, what do you guys we want to talk about? Why did that sound like that? Why did that sound like that? I just want to see some of your guys' suggestions before I go. What I'll do is I won't post, but I'll put the link on my Twitter and Instagram, and so then it will be there. Same time, hopefully, 9 p.m. EST. If my daughter sleeps, we'll see. Might be a bit earlier if she sleeps. Who knows? A critical examination of the movie calendar. Okay. I see what you guys are into. Okay. Maybe we will. All right. That sounds fun. All right. Good night, everybody. It was a lot of fun. It was really fun to hang out with you guys, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next week. And I have more vids coming soon, of course. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.